Hi, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Dare to Be Fearless. I'm your host, Alexa Curtis, and today I've got a very interesting business episode I want to walk you through because of something that's happened over the past few days that I actually think is a really big warning sign to aspiring and/or current business owners, but also going to walk you through because I posted a lot about it on my social media of what's happened because I also think it's quite interesting with the goal of you walking away from this episode and nothing like this ever happening to you. Before I get into it, I've got a custom Chief Swag Officer microphone cover and hoodie up on our website, chiefswagofficer.com. We're sold on Amazon. We're also sold on TikTok Shop. We're sold on Instagram Shop. These hoodies are new. They're about to drop. They are so effing comfortable. I also love them because there's no string. I hate when there's string on a hoodie, and these ones don't have any string. Variety of sizes, all in colors like gray, light brown, all with our Chief Swag Officer logo on them. And then with our microphone covers, this is actually the SM7B microphone cover, but it also fits the Rode Podcaster one. I'm filming this episode at a studio in Austin, Texas, and it fit it perfectly, which I'm really excited about. So it's a really great investment for your brand. So just some basic background. For those of you who don't know, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 plus years. I started as a fashion blogger when I was 12. I built the site out into this full-time lifestyle platform that was still about fashion. But as I got older, I started to talk a lot more about business and entrepreneurship, my highs and lows of being a young business owner and having no money or connections, but really just this tenacity and fearlessness and grit that got me to where I am. Then I ended up cold selling and pitching a show to Disney, and I ended up hosting a show called Fearless Every Day on Radio Disney for 2 years. And then I left Disney, moved to Austin, Texas, started another company called Be Fearless, which explains this tattoo in particular. Be Fearless Summit was and still is very close to my heart. We would team up with different universities to host these really awesome, inspiring girl power type conferences. And I did that for a few years in Austin. And then I ended up leaving Austin, had some bad stuff happen in business, moved to London, which is where I started Chief Swag Officer. Chief Swag Officer is my baby. I started Chief Swag Officer in August of 2024 as an Etsy shop. Now, I had no experience with e-commerce. I have built a personal brand over the years, newsletter I've scaled, podcast I've scaled, but I always was convinced that I would start a business that was selling a product besides me. I think as I've gotten further along into my career as an entrepreneur, I have definitely realized that it's the business that I love. The ideas that I have are awesome, but when you want to become a successful entrepreneur, you must be obsessed with the business of having a business as much as as obsessed as you are with your idea. And the reason I say that is because I just spoke at UT this morning and there was, 100 students in this course, and I was so honored to present to them. And I really said to them, over the years, what I've realized about business is that I have so many ideas. I have thrown things at the wall. Some have stuck, some haven't. But over the course of building my career, I have come to the realization that the ideas are one thing. Like, sure, do I love Chief Swag Officer? Of course. Did I ever think I would be selling microphone covers and scaling it into one of the fastest growing e-commerce businesses? No. But what I love is the ability that I have to learn something new every day. And if you want to become a successful business owner, you need to be in love with the process of becoming successful, as obsessed as you are with the process of actually creating the business, because the highs and lows are so high and so low that you really have to become accustomed to it to succeed. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've had quite an interesting situation happen over the past week with Etsy. Now, I started Chief Swag Officer as an Etsy store in August of last year. I was at my breaking point. I had a terrible year in business. I lost pretty much all the money I had saved. I was not making enough from content creation and influencing because it's hard. And people will tell you that, you can make millions a year, blah, blah, blah. That's like Ponzi scheme shit. I'm here to tell you, I work 24/7. I don't have millions of followers. I have gotten great experiences and opportunities. I landed my own Disney show. I've gotten really far. But does influencing and content creation, has it made me a millionaire? No. Will it ever? I don't know. I've found certain niches that I'm able to lean into, but I've also definitely realized that, like I said about business, I love business, and you can hit a wall when you learn enough about something. I know so much now about building a personal brand and interviewing founders. And so Chief Swag, when it fell into my life because I couldn't get the idea out of my head, I was like, I would rather try this and be unsuccessful and at least be able to say that I tried than not try at all. Because I'm a firm believer that if you have an idea for X amount of time, you need to pursue it. If you are waking up every single day and you are thinking about the exact same thing, I'm begging you, do something about it, because most people don't. And those are the people that never become the 1%. And 1% of people that have an idea and they can't get it out of their head, and they will do everything that they can to try it just to get themselves comfortable with knowing that at least they tried it, become the 1%. And of course, everyone wants to become successful. Of course, everyone wants to become rich. But don't you want to build something that you build on your own? And that's what your success and your money comes from. So I started Chief Swag Officer as an Etsy shop. And I posted a video a few days ago, actually, about how I came up with the name Chief Swag Officer. Fun fact, I actually did not come up with the name Chief Swag Officer. I had a low point when I started texting my ex-boyfriend, pre my current boyfriend, who I'm so in love with and like definitely want to post about how we met, but like I'm also trying to keep it kind of private. I don't know. Anyhow, so before I met my now, very serious boyfriend, I, like many young people, start talking to their ex, and I had the idea for Chief Swag, and I didn't tell a lot of people because it seemed so stupid to me, right? Like, would I have ever thought that this company would become one of the fastest growing e-commerce companies out there? Literally no. I'm also at the brink of being done with entrepreneurship. I'm like, I haven't made enough money this year. I don't know what I'm doing. I had this thing happen with this cancellation, and I definitely don't want to play the victim in any of that. But like for a 27-year-old, it's a lot. Like emotionally, it was a lot. Mentally, it was a lot. Going through it on my own, unrelatable things to friends of mine. Like it was a lot. So anyhow, I, started talking to him, God knows why. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, at the time, I was like, I'm in Zurich actually visiting my sister. And I've got this idea for custom microphone covers. And I made an Etsy shop. And like, today's the first day. And he was like, what's the name of it? And I was like, Cast Gear. And he was like, that's the worst name ever. You need to change it to Chief Swag Officer. This is all via text messages. And I'm like, what? What do you know about anything? Well, fast forward, Chief Swag Officer is, I think, the coolest name ever. And it's so funny because when you go through a breakup or whenever something happens, and I mean, him and I had separated 2 years before that, right? Like it's been a decent amount of time. But the pain that I went through in that big breakup, like I had never experienced that before. And looking back, thank gosh it played out the way that it did, because this company saved my life. And the name of it also, I'm so grateful. And that's why I'm so willing to sit here and be like, I didn't come up with the name. I came up with the business, but I came up with a dumb other name. And sometimes you need to lean into being uncertain about things and allow that ability to be naive take you far. I was like, screw it. I'll change the name because I will change it to anything to make this successful. And I did change the name to Chief Swag Officer, and I trademarked the name, and I will be out in public and someone will come up to me and be like, I love that. What is that? And it's like the coolest thing ever, because how shitty of a name is Cast Gear? But look, as a business owner, I can't be good at everything. Coming up with names is perhaps not my strongest suit. Anyway, fast forward. Launched it as an Etsy store. Off the bat, we were profitable. Like off the bat, Chief Swag Officer's making thousands a month. And I'm going through the process of understanding e-commerce. I'm understanding the internet. I'm understanding this customer journey. When I spoke at UT this morning, a student asked me, looking back when you started Chief Swag Officer, is there anything you would have done? I think there are certain things you should do when you start a business. I also think there's two different types of people who start businesses. There are people who start businesses with solid business plans, and the goal is that they build and they scale this business and then they exit. And then there are people who fall into something, right? Like I kind of fell into starting this fashion blog. It was a side hobby when I started it. I was 12. In a way, I fell into Chief Swag Officer because I didn't sit down and write a business plan for this because I was convinced that I wasn't successful when I started it. And so I didn't believe in myself enough almost to sketch myself out of doing it by taking the next step and making a business plan. That being said, I jump into things and I don't always think twice before I do it because otherwise I get too scared. If you're the first category and you are like, I want to make a business plan for this, do it, but allow it to be really flexible. Looking back, I think, sure, I guess I could have done customer interviews. I mean, I've done them now that I have the customer base and we've done deals with corporations like Heineken and Red Bull. We just got, product to Tokyo within 3 days for a massive Red Bull event. There's so much stuff that happens behind the scenes with this company that's really cool. But what ended up and has transpired over the past week is on Saturday morning, I'm in Connecticut on a trip, and I get an email in my inbox that's like, Etsy has permanently banned you from selling. I look at this email and I'm like, what? And it says like, you are no longer in line with the terms and conditions of like essentially this Etsy store, and we're banning you, and you can't make another account, and you can never buy anything on Etsy again, and you can't ever sell on Etsy again. I was like in shock. My boyfriend's like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm like, look at this email. Like, what the fuck? So I write an appeal. They get back to me like, this decision's final. Few things that I think potentially have occurred here, and I have no idea. And perhaps maybe by the time this episode airs, I'll have an idea or someone will have gotten back to me. Someone reported us. We have like 2 competitors. Did one of our competitors, because we've dominated this market, report us? No idea. Did they think we're drop shipping? Keeping in mind, 90% of these third-party websites, Amazon, Etsy, Temu, AliExpress, are all drop shipping. If you want to be big and good in business, get used to these terms. I want you to know what a convertible note is. I want you to know what a convertible safe is. I want you to know what drop shipping is. I want you to know what a pitch deck is. I want you to know what an angel investor is. I want you to know what a friends and family round is. If you want to work in business, if you want to build a company, you need to know what all of this is. Drop shipping is when you're basically a third-party retailer selling to people, which means I could go to China right now and buy 400 of these chairs for $10 each. I could list it on my website as high-end quality chairs for $4,000. And China is the one sending these chairs out to my now customers. Chief Swag Officer, like I have posted from the beginning, we make this shit by hand. We've got a network of people. Sometimes it's me. We've got, facilities that facilitate creating the product. So it is not drop shipping. So I get this email and I basically have kind of been in a frenzy. Like this week has been really intense. I literally haven't slept. I'm waking up in the middle of the night with a lot of anxiety because I feel like I was robbed of something I had built. Thank gosh, when I started Chief Swag Officer, within 2 months of starting that company, as an Etsy shop and seeing the success, I hired someone. He was expensive. He still works for the company. I hired him because I know enough now as a business owner to know there are things I am very good at and there are things I am very bad at. And founders fail fast who think they know everything. I will sit here and tell you exactly to a T what I'm good at. I'm good at marketing. I'm good at social media. I'm good at being Alexa Curtis. I'm good at selling. I'm not good at customer service. I'm not good at HR. I'm not good at math or numbers. I failed out of high school. Like I'm not good at math or numbers, but I'm good at everything else. You can pay everyone else to do the things you are not good at. So I hired him very early on. And as we started to see the company grow and become successful so fast into this Etsy shop, we launched a website. We hired a designer. We did it very lean. If you go on chiefswagofficer.com right now, this website cost me $1,500 and I still work with a designer. I know people who off the bat think they need these crazy expensive high-end websites at 10, 20 grand. They go into debt. The company fails. They're bankrupt. Boom. I was like, I am risking everything right now to stop my life, not get a full-time job, and pursue this idea that I have. And it's all my money. It's all my credit. It's all my debt. And so I did it very lean. Anyway, so we launched the website, and thank gosh. So essentially this Etsy page we have, Etsy dominates the market with SEO. And you'll realize this if you ever decide to do something like what I've done, is when you sell on a third-party retailer, they dominate the market. They pay so much money to Google because they can to put you at the top. So for the past 8-9 months of Chief Swag Officer, we're on the top of Google when you Google customized microphone covers, okay? ChiefSwagOfficer.com comes up below, and if you Google Chief Swag Officer, it comes up. But when with that tagline that most people are Googling customized microphone covers, it's linking you to our Etsy store. And so through Etsy, we're able to then get people to our website if they have rush inquiries, etc. But the bulk of the business was still built on Etsy. My team member who said from the beginning, let's launch a website, was so smart, because he said, and we really over the months have calculated, the prices on our Etsy page were higher, with the goal being that people will go to our website where they're lower. Now, you never know. People like to buy on Amazon and Etsy because they like to, number one, when you buy on a third-party retailer like that, there's like a confirmation, I guess you're going to get it, or there's such large conglomerates. So as the customer, right, you feel safe buying from one of those because if something goes wrong. And so we kept the page up because of the SEO. I never had anyone doing SEO for Chief Swag Officer because Etsy was our vehicle. I can explain it like essentially when our Etsy got shut down, the bread of our sandwich is now gone. We've got like the jam, but we don't have the bread anymore. And looking back, I probably should have had someone doing SEO early on, but I have been, and I mean, I still am, but I've been riding this high of like how well this company has done from the beginning, which is so cool. And I'm so grateful. I'm also literally for the first time in my life, not sleeping 9 hours a night. And I am traveling and doing so much content to really make this an $100 million a year company that I'm confident it will get there. But I didn't want to have anyone do SEO because I didn't want to have anyone doing Amazon ads because we didn't need to. So now Etsy shuts down the page, and I have emailed every executive. I have publicly posted about this on LinkedIn. I have had messages on Instagram. Etsy sellers has now banned me from tagging them. I've gone on Reddit. I've engaged with other people who have apparently had similar things happen. At the end of the day, they may never get back to me. I tried to make another page and I was immediately suspended. Like I did it under my 75-year-old mother's name and ID, and I was suspended as if I've like killed someone. It's super strange to me. It's extremely strange. And it is really scary as a small business owner because like I said, like we have a team now. I have people on payroll. All of a sudden we've gone from all of these sales to now way less sales and having to rewire how we're getting new clients because we're not at the top of Google. And I know if you're watching this, you may be like, whatever, why does this matter? Because when you're in the midst and in the thick of building a business, I hope if anyone can ever have this feeling, the obsession with it is like, imagine just wanting to date someone and you can't get their attention and you want it so bad. That's how I feel about this. But like I feel about it with microphone covers. Like I want every single person to have something from Chief Swag Officer because they deserve to. I don't like the fact that DJI and Rode dominate the market. And so creators and brands are giving massive amounts of publicity to other brands when they can come to us as a small business. My company is like 99% female and have us make you something for the same price. That's your branding on it. Okay. So with Etsy doing this now, the main problem is it's very hard to now have people find our website. And it's also hard to get people to, I think, because it's a newer company and it is a good website and whatnot, but like trust that they're putting their faith when you're getting a customer to give you money. You have to give them that confirmation. They're going to get the product, they're going to get it on time, etc. And so I've really, over the past few days, had to rewire the way that I view this business. I'm no longer looking at Etsy as a vehicle to get in front of new customers, which means we are cold emailing people. We are DMing people more than ever before, hiring someone for sales, because now we're in the actual machine of running the business. Whereas before with Etsy, whether or not the page ever comes back up, I had them as my bread. I've lost the bread now. I will just say on a personal note, I do think it's really disgusting that they haven't engaged or replied to anything. I think that unfortunately, a lot of these Airbnbs and Etsy's of the world's Facebook become toxic places to work at, because I know a lot of people who work at these kind of companies, but also toxic places that own and run the market. They're unicorn companies, another term I want all of you who are aspiring business owners to know of, but they dominate the market. There's nothing else like theirs, so they don't have to care. And I think, like, as a small business owner myself, and as someone who is really definitely, like, I feel my career finally working out, and I feel more like I'm becoming successful over the past 10 years. Like, I know that my customers are the only thing that keep me going. I know that you guys watching my stuff and engaging and coming up and coming to meetups and saying hi, you are the reason I can exist. You are the reason that I do this. And so I just don't think that even when I'm a multimillionaire that I would just do something like this, but also ignore it. I have literally followed up so many times. I have emailed every investor in Etsy and told them this. And at this point now, I am making it like my mission to make other people aware of the fact that you cannot rely on any third-party company to build your brand for you. You need a website. You need social media. If you are building a personal brand, it's very different than, say, like what I've done with Chief Swag Officer. But like, I always had an Alexa Curtis website. I've always had my own social media. I've always had my own podcast, because I would never, for example, when I signed with Disney, rely on Disney to make me into someone that I wanted to be, because then my contract didn't get re-signed, right? And then I was left with, thank gosh, I still have my name and my platform and my wording to allow me to get to the next phase of my career. Because if I had left it all up to Disney and then I walked away with Disney and I have no social media, nothing, what would I do? How would I pay my bills? And so this is just definitely a warning sign to those of you who want to pursue entrepreneurship, do something in the e-commerce space. Don't rely on Amazon or an Etsy to be the bread of your company. You need to be the bread and the jelly, and you need to look at those third-party places as platforms for you to elevate and utilize your business, but not view them as end-all be-alls. Because through Reddit and like the research that I've done, through Reddit and the research that I've done, I really realized, like, oh my God, this has happened to a lot of other people. And thank God we have the Chief Swag Officer website, because essentially they've completely put us out of business. And it's really scary. And I'm about to start taking a salary from this company. Right now, everything's going back into the business. But if they did this and this was 100% how I paid my bills, what would I do? And they don't even care. And I don't know, it just makes me feel like sick to my stomach, because it should not be something that you should even have to think about. But again, these larger corporate conglomerates, this is what they do, and they don't need to care, and they don't care at all about you. So that's what I have to say. That's basically the situation. I guess I'm like a little bit in damage control of like, okay, now I need to make sure that we are just blasting this everywhere, that I'm putting these microphone covers. I was already doing it, but because I had Etsy, I felt like I was able to actually build the business and not have to do so much of like the cold pitching and the sales part of it. But now I feel like I just have to be even more involved in that, because I need to keep that Etsy momentum going, but doing it on its own. So if you want to pursue entrepreneurship, business, I said when I spoke at UT this morning that I hope if you watch my stuff that I so authentically talk about my mistakes. I talk about the things that I wish I had done differently or learned from. And I hope that by sharing my mistakes or things I could have done better with you, you're able to say, I won't make that mistake because Alexa made it for me. And I really, as much as this sucks, like right now what's happened really effing sucks, at least I can sit here and tell you I made another mistake. Don't make this mistake. And that's my thing. So if you can, it would really be awesome if you can follow Chief Swag Officer on social media, if you can engage with us on TikTok or Instagram. It's at Chief Swag Office. It's at Chief Swag Officer. If you want to place an order on chiefswagofficer.com, you can use the promo code in the show notes of this episode to place your first order. All of the covers we make are in tons of different sizes and tons of different colors. This is also our velvet one, and this says Chief Swag. When you send a logo in, you just need to make sure that your logo is a high-res PNG. You can also upload it directly on chiefswagofficer.com. And if you are someone that wants the security of buying from a third party, like I mentioned earlier, we're on Amazon, we're on TikTok Shop, we're on Instagram Shop. But to be honest, it's so much easier if you just order directly from chiefswagofficer.com because it's the same thing. And I'm the one who gets to interact with you guys and like make the product and see it come to life and see how beautiful you all look when you make content and have your brand stand out. And that's what I'm so grateful for about this is your name and your messaging, and you deserve to have that seen. And that's why it's called Your Brand, Your Gear, Your Way, is because I am sick of these large conglomerates dominating the market and putting their logos on what should be your customized branded thing. And I'm telling you, it's worth the investment because you're already buying it from them. So spend the same amount of money and buy it with your logo on it. That's all for today on Dare to Be Fearless. Thank you so much for tuning in. Head to the show notes if you want to find out more about my work as an entrepreneur, as well as what I've built with Chief Swag Officer. And I'll see you back next week for a new episode on Dare to Be Fearless.